This conference will now be recorded.
I have a request before the prayer. We have a moment of silence for our patrons that passed away. They will call
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, what do we do the prayer?
Okay, so we'll do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll do a moment of silence for phone file.
Hasn't changed quite a year.
Thank you. Where did the, hang on. We do the court business for the people of the village. We go greatest compassion, understanding, and everything else we need.
That's pretty much it.
I read some more. Okay.
Reverend Rodney.
Shorter than sharp.
All right. First item is public comment. We online?
You want- you didn't-
Put it up.
What's the other? Oh, okay.
We don't see each other.
Keep an eye on you.
Somebody's got it. That's great. Department head reports. We'll do those since nobody's here to present anything. Robin?
Oh, we've had 115 calls in 17 days. We've been getting hammered pretty good. Our biggest problem right now is turnaround time at the hospitals. They are 5 and 6 ambulances deep when we get there, and there's just absolutely no beds. And the best option, obviously, I found out was calling ahead early. And which made the ones that were waiting way longer than me, and I went ahead of them. But the turnaround time is at least a half an hour and 45 minutes of them on stretch before we can transfer to that. So it's making our turnaround kind of tough to get back for the second and third calls, but we've been doing it. Maybe this time, right? Yeah, okay. Also, I talked to Mike about the territory issue that we have to get resolved due to the fact that we have this issue with Union wanting to come into our area. As a membership, we voted no, that we didn't want them to have the ability to come into our area. And I know that Maine did the same and Campbell did the same. So they're trying to get a certificate of need for this area. And in order to do that, they have to prove that they've done a certain number of calls, yada, yada, yada. And also,
I know I talked to Nate about that. So the overview, a letter, Union Ambulance may be a customer. Or they represent that.
well, they have to give it to somebody else in the office. I don't know what to do, but they,
Yeah, we still need that statement.
we've been asking for that for.
Yeah, the other stuff he's been.
For the county.
Stuff, yeah.
For the contract with Owego Center.
Yeah, I talked to him about that too, so we're gonna get that going.
All right, because we have,
Although he said that he's not on here yet, he'll be on here soon. We'll be on this, but he said that since our contract with Tioga has an end date, that we can bill, because right now we have no contract with them.
but we need documentation of that. I explained why yesterday, because
So,
if we go ahead and send out this, so that you guys all know, if we send out this bill and they end up saying that there's a contract And then we could lose our ability to bill Medicaid and Medicare because of a difference in wording or not getting the communication correct. So that's why we want a letter stating that we are not obligated to anything with Tioga Center's contract.
So he said we can do that.
Okay.
We don't have it.
We don't.
No.
What we need,
I understand that, but it's not that we're not.
The letter that you're asking for won't hurt, but
yeah,
he doesn't feel legally that we would even need that, but obviously that's good to have.
I don't take no chances when it comes to the finances of Medicaid, Medicare. You know how hard it was to get to begin with. And my other thing is those tanks are still in the back of the bay from the air packs, the old air packs. And I would like to take them downstairs because he said he was gonna get rid of them. I don't know, we just need to clean that bay up because they're just stacked up. And now that we have 3 rigs, a fly car and a pickup truck and a the box truck there for the fire police, it's really full in there, so.
Preston?
I would be happy to ask the chief about, he would move those tanks. Once again, it's his responsibility, his station, but I would be happy to tell him that.
If he wants us to move them down there, we can. Okay, we're offering that up.
You're willing to do the work.
Yes, yes. I just don't want it to cause a rift, so.
No, because it's his station, so yeah. We need to ask him, or talk to him, or tell him, or whatever.
Your station. Also, just on the upside of things, the new ambulance has been an absolute mess. With these Hanover people and whatnot, we've got several with bad backs, bad knees, whatever, and it's just been a blessing. And people have found out to get up and go is definitely much better now. The original complaint was it wasn't diesel, but I'll tell you now, they all like it, so. So that means that, you know, when we move forward and do another one, it's gonna be a good choice, because everybody's.
How is it, maybe we're not tracking at this level, but how is it fuel cost wise?
Well, we had,
Especially with the price of
Jeff,
gas.
when he took it back down to New Jersey to get the correct oxygen lift put in there. And he said it was at 15 or 16 miles per gallon. So that wasn't really much different than what the diesel is, so that's not bad. But it's definitely paid for itself and just the assistance of being able to lift in the short time we may able to use it.
Because it has a hydraulic lift on the rate like that.
It will, yeah.
Actually lift or-
Yeah. And, you know, we found, you know, certain angles, it doesn't really, it does, but, you know, and sometimes we still have to lift up on it to get it up onto it because of the angle, but it's still the difference is phenomenal on everybody, so. That's all I have. We have a new number thingy, but that's up for him.
Yeah, but the emergency squad has interviewed this gentleman and approved him of Leonard Ford. He's
What is his name, Fran? I'm sorry.
Fore.
Leonard Ford.
Leonard Ford.
Leonard Ford.
He has a lifeguard certificate and EMT and CPR, so he's more than qualified. And he can't work on the weekends, but he would be available other times.
For a volunteer or?
Yeah,
Yes.
he can do Sundays after he gets back from his other job. He is in paramedic school, by the way.
We need him next summer for the pool.
Very high-strung energy. And his son in school, he lives in Straits Corners, so it's Iowa Center School District. And he was, I don't know if he still currently is with Iowa Center Squad, but they didn't really allow him in his feelings that to really do his skills. And I said, we use and abuse our BLS, so we'll definitely be.
You second that?
So, yeah.
So just a couple quick questions. So I did want to know where the street corner is, and he
He will stay at the station.
is or was a member of Center Squad.
Mhm.
How old is this?
He's in his 20s, he's got a young child.
And you've already told him experiences.
And Nate has joined us. Welcome, Nate. All right, any more discussion on him? Yeah, we'll vote. I didn't make my list.
Sounds like it's what?
All right. Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yeah.
Rusty? Yes. Ron?
Yes.
Ed, you're still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm muted though. Yes, yes.
Okay,
So we know it wasn't him.
and yes from me. No, it was Nate.
I've also reconnected with the gentleman that we interviewed for the extra of the other medic. We're trying to find an even ground financially that he would be willing to make the transfer from where he is now to us. So he's gonna work some numbers and let me know what he can do. So, it's like,
Do this board need to review that now, or?
no, Mike and I talked about it, and it's something I can do it at different time, but we're just trying to do what's financially feasible. But also be in the ballpark of where everybody else is at, otherwise we're not gonna fill the bill. As of yet, with all the advertisement that we put out, there's absolutely zero money. So we as a group here have to be able to find a way to make something happen. This is, my thought was to go back to him and see, you know, what it would take.
Yeah, in the 2.5 months since Linda left, Simon's been filling in with all the overtime, and, she started getting burned out. You know, it's good.
And as of November, she won't be under the village insurance. She's gonna go under her husband, so that gives us a little something too. So, just throw that out there.
Yeah, and so like I told you, phone, but as removed from village, under the fire department, expense in the budget to self-sustaining billing, have a little more room for like a competitive wage.
Yeah.
To keep people like on here.
Yes.
And hopefully try
To
to
encourage. Yeah.
Because you guys, I think we'll get the treasurer report getting on the list, but we're like $39,000 again this year, plus, well, my money still was in the bank from last year, so I mean, things are going well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 months, doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Plus paying the other bills.
We will need every nickel of that as soon as we get, no, I'm just saying, we need to have that for new rig, but as soon as we need another rig too. That's great that will be. we'll do that.
Yeah.
well, things are going well. Anything else?
I have a question. So tell me, one more time so I can understand, Union wants to do something in our territory. You're a department head of a department of the village of Owego. Who in the world voted that they could or couldn't come into our territory and do this?
It's not, it's a general consensus of all agencies as to whether they see the need. And that's what they are asking, is where, is there a need? So each
Agency,
agency,
which is which is the department which you are the head of for the village of Owego. So I don't understand who voted. Well, I don't understand this idea of a vote. I don't understand that.
Well, it's not necessarily vote. We agreed to draft a letter stating that we were opposed to this need, because we don't feel there's a need for them to come into if they've mutual aided anybody in the area, it's probably Appalachian, because that's the closest area. They have not been in our area in years. But it was asked of us to give that our opinions, and that's what we did. This letter was sent to us and requesting that we give whether we're in favor of it or not. And like I said, we had a gentleman from Rochester came down and met us, with me and Paul. And he is doing a survey on EMS. And basically they're trying to see if there's a need, not for them. It had nothing to do with that. But where we're at, where all these agencies are at, how are you meeting your call volume? How much are you dependent on other agencies and things such as that? So we went through that for about an hour, and then he's going to compile all this information and get back with us as to what can be done to help the areas. And, where are our weaknesses, where are our strengths, So there's a lot going on out there that they're trying to do for the EMS. Whether it's in a positive note, we don't know yet, or whether it's a negative note.
Yeah, so
I think my point is not being taken.
Well, there was email sent out before the last meeting about this issue.
And that was brought up at the last board meeting.
That you wanted to do this and that.
yeah, they sent me a letter and.
Okay, so did we discuss this at the last meeting?
I think so.
Not really, no.
Not much. I just got the letter like.
Okay, so I just, my point. My point is you are the head of this department. You have all this authority. We don't have an agency. This isn't like that works in every place else. You're a department of the village of Owego, you have authority. You go ask the gang to vote. They don't have any authority. You have all the authority. You make all the decisions for them.
We do, but
So you can do it any way you want.
that's not the way we work. That's not the way I work. The way I work is we have officers. And we all work together to come to conclusions and solve issues and whatnot. And I'm not going to stronghold people well, this is my way of thinking and that's it. So that's why it was brought to the officers and whatnot as to what we thought about it. Because not only do you have people that have been here longer than I have, you also have people that were in my position, but I'm in now, prior to me, that are there. So everybody's feedback is important to me, and that's why I say that.
That's fine. Once again, you run the department. You get to decide how you want to make the decision. That's fine. Enough said for me.
On the other stuff, I know they're looking at county level, at EMS services, because a lot of our neighboring municipalities are really struggling.
That's what this gentleman was for Rochester.
I've been in those meetings and we have not come up because we handle our own calls. And we
For the most
handle
part.
a lot of third things too.
Yes, yeah. But the last thing we're gonna do is blackball any other group around here, because we know how it was to be down to one ambulance and have to depend on other people. We know exactly what.
Yeah, no, it's not their fault.
No, it's just how the ball rolls each month. Who's got more bricks?
Volunteers are hard to get.
Yep.
And it's an expensive service to run. So. Anything else?
Nope.
The additional thing I had was send everybody an email about
Three of our full-time employees are $1 an hour.
Charles is here. I know he said he was in support of that.
Another question I have, I asked for merit raises for the sewer department. I was going to negotiations with CSEA. Negotiation. Was the supervisor that I was asking for, I don't know if there's a difference, but that's the guidance I was.
Rusty?
Might be something that we think about for everybody and everywhere. Yeah, we thought about it. Limited number of places we can spend our money from the federal government. We can spend it on a bonus for people during COVID. So we might, as we're thinking along these lines, we might think about a bonus because we can spend that money on rates or something. So that's just another way to reward bonus. No possibility.
Bonus is still taxable.
Good question from Rick. Yeah.
Last time you couldn't give my employees that.
Depending on their contract.
Dave?
Anna?
It's been good.
Vegan. And Wolf. Joe. Mine. I'm gonna do that at a different time.
One thing I will say about the street department, they are so low in the salary total. They don't have a guy making $23, $24.
Maybe, but that's the guidance I was giving. We shouldn't differentiate among the same. And I understand where it's coming from because they can go elsewhere and get money.
Jeff, do you have a recommendation about whether we can take care of them? First, you think that they may not be able to get bonus, which they can't, but there's no funds, it's moved. But no particular recommendation about whether we can find a way to give them a better thing through this other money that we are limited on, whether that would be a viable alternative, or is this a better alternative? You don't have
Have base salaries for, till they leave.
Yeah.
Not a one-time shot. But we gotta do it, we gotta do it. We can talk to them. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's the sewer department, my guys help them, the fire department, my guys help them, the police department, my guys help them. My guys are standing in sewage 1 minute, plowing roads at 2:00 in the morning, and they're getting $14 a freaking hour.
Yeah, that's not enough.
I'm like tired of asking for this stuff.
I was trying to figure a way to get more, I'm not. Trying
You got, do whatever you gotta do. And for 28 years, I've heard this. We're in negotiations, I can't give a raise. Well, you know what? It's been sometimes 2 years before they settle a contract. I mean, right.
Yeah, that's
But
almost.
you guys do whatever you gotta do. And whatever, I mean, I just asked for it. It's up to you guys. You either do it or you don't do it, or put it on hold, or whatever it is you want to do.
Well, what do you think is a rightful wage?
All right, I don't think any one of my guys should be getting paid less than $17 an hour, but that's something you need to negotiate. But right now, I mean, it's gonna bring two of these guys up, one guy up to $15 an hour, where another guy up to $15.74 an hour. And Joe is only gonna be getting $14.50 an hour if you gave him a $1 an hour raise. Yeah, I mean, it's a joke.
Yeah.
I'm out there busting their chops because they're whining because they don't get paid what they should, and they don't.
What
Hey, Nate,
are their names?
Davey and Nate and Dan.
Was there a question?
yeah, can municipal employees get a bonus?
There are things that we could try to work out. I think we're in union negotiations right now with the CSCA. Are Jeff's employees covered by the CSCA?
Yeah.
So the village negotiating meeting tomorrow. We can talk about this and work out how to potentially address that.
Really no negotiation meeting tomorrow.
Well, just my opinion, I think they all need to be raised. Like you said, $17, $18 an hour plus, I think with the COVID money, as Rusty and I learned it, can I come every week and offer any of our essential employees bonuses for this last year?
So
I would say increased wage and bonuses.
I think what we need to remember is we're in active negotiations right now with the CSEA about hours and wages and things like that. So I think what I'm gathering from Jeff and Fran, they'd like to see the negotiating team offer additional monies. But we're currently working on what the village's response to the CSEA proposal will be. So I think hearing what Jeff asked about, could we do a bonus of some sort? And Fran, to hear your statement that you'd like to see higher wages for these folks, that's going to be up to the negotiating team to put a package together and work on that with the CSEA. But I think that's where we're headed in that direction.
Yeah, Nate, the original question was whether or not to give 3 individuals a $1 an hour raise.
A merit raise as opposed to the regular CSEA percentage increase though. Should we give them a merit raise even though we're in the middle of negotiation?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a bad thing for us to do?
Yeah, I mean, if I believe our contracts does give the board authority to do that. I guess it's just the negotiating team needs to understand, if the board gives a merit raise right now, what does that look like? And is that going to somehow upset other CSEA members who are going to say, well, why did these guys get a little bit? I mean, obviously the answer is a merit raise, but it's just I don't want to impact the village's ability to negotiate right now by having the board work out on the side other compensation packages for individuals. I mean, I hear it. It sounds like these guys deserve it, and I think that's part of the ongoing discussions with the CSA, we can include some of those things in it.
So Nate, maybe it should be communicated that it's the sense of the board that we would be supportive of something like that while the CSEA negotiations are going on.
Well, when do you expect the negotiations to be completed?
So we're gonna meet tomorrow with our group, Nate, me, or Laura.
And then we could, depending on the negotiating team's availability, Joanne Masternardi had reached out and just asked when we were going to be able to meet again. If we can meet Thursday with the CSEA, great. But the other thing, Fran, is that raises are typically retroactive back to the date the contracts, the underlying contract expired. we could certainly work out with them, like if it's a merit type of a raise, then it wouldn't be backdated, but we could do something like that. If the board wants to give these guys a raise, now, that can be worked into the agreement.
Rusty?
I have some interest in giving these gentlemen a merit raise now. Then we should be talking numbers, but these numbers aren't negotiation numbers. These are just standard numbers. If we gave a $20,000 a year person a 2% raise, we could give them $400. And everybody would get that $400 raise. And that's would be what we negotiate in the contract. These are people that we believe are underpaid, and we want to give them, we don't want to give them just the standard raise in the contract. We want to give them a merit raise. We don't have to do it now, but we kind of want to do it now. Are you getting this, Nate? Is this problematic?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I mean, it's a weird quirk of timing that we happen to be in negotiation with the CSEA right now. If you were to otherwise do a merit-based raise, we wouldn't have any problem with that. So from that perspective, I can see why, if you believe that these individuals deserve a merit raise, you shouldn't hold it up. It's just, when I was immediately thinking of it, it's like, well, we are in negotiations right now. Normally you wouldn't do any outside raises or things like that while you're currently negotiating. Doesn't mean you can't do it.
I don't want to say a whole lot more because it's about negotiation.
If we did it now, we'd also do the sewer department.
He's fine. He's not going. He's going to stay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can't lose any people.
Right.
Then we have 0 people.
So hopefully the negotiation will go well and everyone will be satisfied on every side of the negotiation. In the meantime, I would like to move that we give Ken Wolf, Joe Miner, and Keegan Bugler a $1 each merit raise per hour.
second.
We can still talk about it some more, but
I mean, just say they deserve it.
Yeah, I think they should be told too that we're in negotiations now with possibility of more in the future.
Very aware of the negotiations.
Right. Hopefully those negotiations will be wrapping up soon, like by next month, so.
other than that, I don't want to be talking all the
Yeah,
time.
there's
Yeah.
not much.
Everybody in our village is paid, except the clerk gets paid more than, in case anybody wants to give a raise.
20 cents an hour is a company.
It's a dollar. It's not $20.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty.
Yes.
Rob. Yes.
Yes.
And yes.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Let me just ask you, as far as if we want to use some of the money from the COVID fund towards bonuses for all of the people that were working over the past year, would that have to be included in the negotiations?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It could be, but doesn't.
We should probably do that. We should fairly send it out of a regular session. We should be talking about that.
And that is a legitimate use, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, I talked to Mayor David from City of Barrington, they did that. That was one thing he recommended, because he's president of NICA. That was one thing, an easy thing he recommended, that you can use the money for. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
We
can use up to, let me say, you can use up to 3% per person.
You must ask first.
Go ahead and Tracy. I think the Green Street's gonna start tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, well, I noticed the streets all marked up, so somebody took a big permit. Which means it's gonna be soon. Fire
The
chief,
fire chief said, they could not come tonight.
all paid up.
He said he could not make it tonight, but he did not have anything. Chris Moore can ask us for it.
Yeah.
To tell us about. The police chief does have something that he would like to do. He would like to, of course, when he does this, he'd like to hire a part-time. He's just adding names to a list to fill hours, so it's not. He's hiring an employee or any money is being spent. He would like to hire a part-timer. The gentleman's name is Ronald Plosek, Plocek. He's 56 years old. He's I think I can tell this stuff. He's a New York State narcotics investigator. Has been in law enforcement for over 20 years. And has also been a police officer and a constable. And police chief would like to hire him as part-timer for 6 hours. And they would like to start him at $20 an hour and a couple of things that he has to do. And then possibly we'll get into the standard that we pay the officers so they're first officer. So I would like to make a motion that we hire Ronald Plosek as a part-time police officer at $20 an hour.
Probation period for
At the minimum probation period.
Which is about 60 days, 90 days.
I don't remember what it is, but I just know that that's the way we say it each time.
Yeah, it's not wrong for pleasant.
And it may also not apply to someone who.
There was some particular place about it.
So is the money in the budget for that?
Once again, it's not hiring a new person. It's how many hours that he has to fill. And he's got
Oh, okay.
42
So
part-time guys, just gonna get somebody else, some other part-timer who's gonna go in that day for that hours.
Okay. I didn't understand.
Yes.
Who's second?
I'll second that.
Other player on the bench. Yep.
Yeah.
Rotate a minute now. All right, Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes. That all I have?
Question, I need to say that people that mess with you.
Oh, yes, we do have another thing. I would like to make a motion that we approve the police chief to apply for a GASB/SAM grant in the amount of $72,136. The motion here has other verbiage in it, but I don't know, it needs to be a motion.
Nate, did you see the motion that Cindy wrote?
I believe so. She sent that last week, right?
Yeah. Is that good enough for you?
What's the purpose?
Monies will be used for the purchase of a police vehicle and all necessary equipment to outfit it, upgrade house and patrol computers, outfit officers with tasers, body cameras, portable radios, and other. That's the way we read the motion. There's another sentence there. Not should be talking motion, but there's another sentence in it that says this is a no-cost grant to the village taxpayers, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with the resolution language. The big issue for me was just I'm getting these emails from DASNY asking me to sign a legal opinion saying it's been authorized appropriately. So that's why I need the motion tonight.
So the language is not problematic for you?
No, it's referencing the grant saying that the village is authorizing the application and the signatures necessary to receive the monies.
So that rest of that stuff, the monies will be used for, does that matter?
It's fine to have in there.
I'll second it.
So, order a second. This is a grant we got, we applied for it 3 years ago, 2018. Years ago. And we're down to where Nate has to sign it, and he looked for this resolution with that.
Can't find the resolution that we probably passed, but I can't find it.
So we've already received the money?
Can't have the money.
Once Nate signs the.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So close to it.
Any other discussion on that? So Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty, yes, Ron,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes.
Just a quick suggestion. Whatever the language exactly that Nate needs.
Yeah.
Is the language of that motion.
I think Cindy has.
Yeah.
You have anything?
Well, why don't we do it on the same page, everybody gets a copy. Motion is to pay $404,000, Kotsky, Henders, and Slavic, and that's for the new municipal.
Does everyone have that motion in front of them?
Pay apps for new municipal building.
Move that we pay, as per the motion here, the 4,809.55 for the three, and then the breakout down of the three.
And second.
Anybody have any questions on that? It's just paying the bills for the new building next door. Just the process we have to go through this building. We didn't have to go through the sewer. Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty, yes, Ron,
Yes.
Ed. Yes. For this.
Move that we approve payment for the new municipal building at the amount of $260,624.88 to the following contractors as listed on here. I'll say the name for contractors. So, $260,000.
A second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Same topic. Brian,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Ed. Yes. And yes.
Move that we approve the resolution. Oh, sorry, do we want to talk about the health one or all that?
Yeah, okay.
Super simple.
It's simple, we just need. Sounds good.
So move that we approve the resolution from the Greater Tompkins Community Municipal Health Insurance Consortium and authorize the mayor to sign the 2022 amendment to the municipal cooperation agreement.
A second.
This was just their yearly amendment, right? Wasn't anything crazy. Just the Yearly,
You're authorized to use it.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes. I have a bunch of stuff off the agenda.
Goodness.
Resolution.
This is a resolution for project complete to authorize final payment for the disinfection project. You want,
Yeah, that's good.
On the reels.
read it, you can just say as presented.
Just a little bit.
Move that we accept this, resolution.
Yeah, resolution.
I move that we accept this resolution as presented to Boulevard for the completion of the UV disinfection process. Do we need the dollar amount?
Yeah, it's in there.
$50,000.75.
I second.
Any discussion on that? besides, I think they're gonna, this is a resolution for completion, which, what's your name's on? EFC, but they're gonna add the generator.
Yeah.
It's done, but not completed. Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Oresti? Yes. Ron,
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Yeah. And yes.
Say I.
No, yeah, it went very smooth.
It's night and day from previous encounters.
Yes, so that was a hunt design project and managed. We had 0 issues.
Recommendation.
Let's see what we have.
That's what we finally signed the contract with for the PR. Benchmarking is the clean energy thing. What's his name gonna help us with? Somewhere you have it. Maybe on that letter. Something else. Yeah, so it's this. Oh, that's But this benchmarking resolution gets us points in that clean energy program. It basically, I don't have the resolution in front of me, but it says that we will track the energy usage at our municipal buildings and report on that once a year. And Cornell Cooperative Extension has software to help us do that.
They provided that.
Yeah, it's like a spreadsheet, but yeah, basically we send them the data and they'll put all in.
And that's all part of the gentleman that,
Right, we get like a
6 months.
$5,000 grant, something like that. We get enough points.
We're gonna get $5,000 or $10,000.
Right.
We've got everything else to, we approve this resolution. That gets us into the next category. I don't have a. But, Mike, you describe it.
I don't know if you said.
Did anybody have one review?
I didn't turn it off. Here's the paper storage.
Yeah, she's looking up bigger.
Everybody's.
I just forgot to turn it off. One of those two.
Run that ship.
Yeah, you gotta get one of those. If they didn't get it, then use it next time, I guess.
Yeah, I think we just gotta do it by the end of the year. They get credit in their system. What else? We got the discussion on the sale of cannabis in the village. That's one.
Yeah.
We got this on the agenda. Anybody who doesn't know, really everybody knows. But we have as a village is we can, if we choose, pass a local law to opt out of a dispensary, just like a store, and a lounge, which is like a bar. And that's it.
Yeah, we can't cut down people using it.
Correct. If we would like to opt out of those two things, we need to pass a local law, we need to have a public hearing, pass a local law before December 31st. And there's a public referendum process, if the public wants to object, if we opted out and don't like that, they can force a vote to be on the ballot
March.
in March, as long as we time it right. Otherwise, we have to hold a special election. So we want to time it right because special elections cost us money.
I'm opposed to opting out because I want the sales tax dollars for our community. People to shop here and not be, support our local business. increase the business and not have people drive away to purchase it somewhere else.
So if we stay in, the numbers are, the local municipality would get 3%, but we're in a village. So if we stay in and the town stays in, we would get 1.5%, and the town would get 1.5%. It's not, so normal sales tax, we get a percentage of all the sales tax in the county. This is, let's say we have one shop in the village of Owego, that we get 1.5% of. There's only that one shop in the village, not everything in the county or town.
So we wouldn't get that 1.5% for dispensaries in the town?
It doesn't go back.
That doesn't,
Yeah, no, it's
that's not fair.
loaded with crap.
So whether they want to opt in or out, they'll still get our 1.5%.
No, if they opt out, we will get the whole 3%. But only of the places in the village. But they're opting out, you can't have a place in the town anyway.
Just on that one point, if this turned into a big pile of money and the town opted out, we would get a big pile of money.
I think they'd opt
They'd
in.
be right back in. So you don't want to say, oh, they're out, we're getting 3. If it turns into something, they're coming back in, take their money. Just so you don't be planning.
Right.
On that 3.
So we get kind of, like, they get 1.5% of ours, but we don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say 1.5%, we get myself in trouble.
Well, I mean, we can afford a police officer and, raises for people that we have to keep, with this. And, in our position, like on the border for Pennsylvania, I hope would stop here first before they do it.
He wouldn't be promoting breaking federal law.
Some people will just be able to buy it where it's legal.
I just don't want to promote as a village for PA to come here and buy it. It's federal.
And
Oh, well,
that's
that's up to the.
Right, but I don't want to be a village saying that's what we're planning on, because I don't want to promote it. It's against federal law. I'm just, no matter how I feel, that's what I want to stay in this village.
Geographically, we are on the border.
We are,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I
Plays
just
into
like people can come from New York to Massachusetts and buy product there.
It's not legal to bring it back.
How they do.
Yes,
Not arguing that.
I don't want to condone it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have a legal obligation to the company.
No, I support the sale of cannabis in the village, because it is legal to use the product. People are gonna buy it. If they don't buy it here, they'll go to whoever else is selling it. Town Center, North Valley, Cantor, Binghamton, Vestal.
And they can,
They'll buy the product wherever they can. And if we say we don't want to, then we're giving up that tax.
I would,
However, I do think we have to be including in that specifics on where we want a shop to be or not be in our village.
so that's the thing, we can't. They technically can be any place a bar can be, basically.
So
They're
that's-
all that.
So it couldn't be in a
Right now.
residential neighborhood.
It's a matter of your zoning regulations. And so, the idea being, right now, it's probably anywhere you allow a bar, but you could review your zoning regulations and modify them to make clearer how your zoning code treats these types of specific businesses.
Plus, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, we need to be specific as a village as far as what our position is on where people can and cannot smoke in the village, whether it be cigarettes or marijuana or whatever, as far as our parks and et cetera are concerned.
If we want to limit smoking, that's another issue, obviously, part of this issue, but another issue too. if we want to limit cannabis smoking, you can't do that, you have to limit all smoking.
Right.
The law says we can't discriminate for cannabis smoking.
Yeah.
So, right. I will say, I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm not in favor of it right now, as far as staying in, because we don't know any of the details. And this is our only chance to opt out, you're gonna always opt back in. And once we're in, you can't ever get back in. We don't know any of the rules because they haven't come up.
That's where I'm at. Like, I just went through all this stuff, reading all these guidelines from the state, ready, because they haven't even put together their yet.
No.
So I'm
Well, then how
very,
they asked us to vote on it.
That's a good question.
exactly my question. They want us to be guinea pigs, and they're gonna do the carriage for the horse, which makes no sense to me. If they want to get their ducks in a row, I'll be happy to follow suit. I don't trust the government that doesn't act like they know what they're doing. And right now, it's so all over the place.
I'd rather see us, this is my personal view, but I'd rather see us opt out, wait until they get their stuff figured out, and then opt back in once we know it's gonna go decent.
I thought that was supposed to have been completed by this month.
It's Rusty?
From my casual reading, which is not necessarily accurate lately, some believe that the state is at least 6 months behind all of their potential deadlines to do this stuff. One of the state senators has proposed legislation in the state senate that they extend the opt-out deadline a year because of the fact that nobody knows what's going on whatsoever. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to do that, but he has proposed it to be done because he said, how can anybody make a decision? You don't have any idea what the rules are or anything. Which is what Ron just said.
So in my mind, a safe decision is to opt out, opt back in when you know what's really going on. But obviously, it's up to you guys.
I did find it interesting about reading that this ability to have to grow your own plants and stuff will not be until 18 months after the first sale.
Right.
As well as possessing 5,000 your own residence will not be until 18 months after the first sale.
Right.
So that the state can make their money up front.
Yeah, but it's still at 3,000 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get
The ounces.
It's still a lot.
Don't be getting so much excited over this.
Okay, 3 ounces.
That, don't sit down and touch brush.
Three fields.
All day.
Hey, Ed, do you have anything that at this particular moment you want to pop in on the marijuana thoughts?
So the only alternate timing wise, if we did want to entertain a public hearing or anything like that, we need to, as far as the deadlines go, we're gonna have a lot opt out, we need to do it by the end of the year, which would mean we need a public hearing. So now the law to actually do it is just slap our name in there, and it's, just fill in our name. That's it.
So you better just set up a public hearing as a precautionary, even if you don't go that route.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, Rusty?
Something to Nate. Hey, Nate, do we, since this will be a local law, I think that we have to opt out, that's what they call it. Will we have to have a public hearing,
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll just give I'm going to give a quick timeline thought process depending on what gets decided to be done. We would want to pass, if we're going to pass a law, and we're going to do that, we would want to pass that as close to January 1 as we can. If a permissive referendum comes forward and it comes forward after January 1, or after December 31st, it will be on the March election. If it comes before January 1, we may have to have a special election. If the way I read it, I may not have that accurate, but in the paperwork I have, that might be the case. So if that was the case, we would want to do it
That's the way I read it.
at the very end so that we, hopefully, we would not have to have a special election.
But in order to pass it, we have to have a public hearing.
Yeah, that we have to do.
All that, so.
There's 60 days after public hearing.
Correct.
Which we could
So
play
you
with
think
that time.
like the middle of
Correct.
the last meeting in November? Our second meeting.
We could schedule them, then we'd be within the 60 days to.
Anything in November would be.
Right.
Well, what are you guys doing New Year's Eve? I mean, do you guys want to hang out? We could have a special meeting, celebrate.
11:58.
Pass
Right?
it right at the last second.
Yeah.
Of course, as soon as we do this, Nate, then they'll extend the deadline 6 months. As
So
soon as
I-
everybody works hard to get things done.
I do have a question, Nate, and you may not know this answer. Nate, does it have to be passed by the end of the year or filed with the state by the end of the year?
Yeah, so everyone that has looked at this now, because that was one of the first questions that I was wondering too. But apparently NICOM and the state are all saying it just has to be passed because it can't be filed with the state until after the referendum period has expired. So you always, you'd have to pass it in November. If it had to be on filing, you would need to pass it in mid-November, which means the December 31st deadline isn't really the same deadline. So it's board action by the end of the year, the referendum period and filing after can happen in 2022.
Okay. So it's up to you guys what you're gonna do, if you wanna schedule a public hearing or.
I think we should schedule a public hearing. I mean, we need the input of our community.
I'll fire a duty up.
Make sure you're in a place where you can smoke.
Maybe he wasn't talking about.
Okay, I propose that we schedule a public hearing for our second meeting in November for the public to discuss whether we should opt out of some marijuana sales.
I'll see him on.
So that would be November 15th.
November.
We have a month.
3 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Do,
5 months.
so to have the public hearing, Nate? To have the public hearing, do we have to have a potential law in place or how do we do that?
Yeah, just like with any public hearing for a local law, you want to have the draft local law available for the public to review at the hearing. You can only take action after something has been on the desks of the trustees for at least 10 days. So ordinarily, prior to your public hearings, we like to have the local law pushed out to you guys with that time frame. But you could, as long as the local law is around and available at the public hearing and you've waited 10 days before you vote, you met those 2 requirements. So anyway, it's very easy for us to put this law together. Like the mayor kind of said, there's a form, we swap the names, we can get it out tomorrow to you guys if that's what you wanted us to do.
But can we, even though we don't have it up tomorrow, can we schedule a public hearing for the 15th of November tonight?
Yeah.
And then the 1st of November, have that law in front of us and everything, so we can.
Yes. Yeah. That would be perfectly fine.
Brandon.
I second that we did.
Any discussion about that? So we'll set a public hearing. Maria,
Yes.
Laura,
No,
Rusty,
Yes.
Fine.
Rob? Yeah.
I agree. Good. Slap boxing. That's good.
I'm not sure what that was. Oh, yes.
Is that it?
That was it. I don't know what it was. Ed, which way you vote on
Yes,
that?
I said yes.
Yeah. Rusty?
And I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I was interested to know if you had any thing that you want, any input at this particular moment in the discussion about this stuff.
All right. Next thing is the minutes. 9:20 and 10:4.
I think what she wants is, she said it's gonna be around last couple weeks, you want to hold off on the last couple minutes?
The ones, it's a bunch of the 20th.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to have my piece of it.
Minutes of the 10:4, you remember those?
There was, just in the attendance, a couple name corrections that I can send in. It doesn't change anything in, the minutes otherwise, but as presented, I motion to approve.
Okay, I have,
Second.
I request change
Okay.
on, page 8. Where I did, my report on, I believe it was page 8, maybe, no, excuse me, page 7. I was discussing the, problem with the windows at the, court. And, it was discussed that we cover those windows in plastic. That does not say that in here.
What does it say?
It says, windows that need replacement on hold waiting for the results of the $600,000 grant. Yes, I understand that. But I requested that we cover, but in the meantime, cover those windows in plastics instead of cracks and holes in some of the windows.
Sounds good to me. Let's put that in the minutes. Fran suggested that we cover the windows in plastic.
Okay, but I'll amend my motion to add that line.
Second.
Everybody else good? We'll vote on those. Fran?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rusty? Yes. Ron?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Yeah. And yes. Treasurer's report, you want to get it? Didn't send out my normal thing. My computer was not cooperating. Anybody have questions with the treasurer's report? Everything is going all right.
Well, I have questions on the bank statement.
Well, that's all part of it.
Oh, it's all part of it? Okay, I've asked before if you could take, that line, 5315 and put it together with, the, Evergreen Cemetery CDs and the Evergreen Perpetual Care Fund. You have to look all over to see what the numbers are. They
You
need
mean
to
just
be-
in the spreadsheet, like,
Yeah,
What page you on?
the bank statement.
Okay.
so just move that row.
Yeah, take that CD, BG, I don't know what that is, and move that, have those 3 cemetery accounts right together, down at the bottom. There's the Evergreen Cemetery CD and the Evergreen Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund.
Yeah, we can tell. You can move that line.
It's not a CD.
And, the CD, what that was, is that was the money that we had reserved to match the grant, and we ended up using half of that. Yeah, what did we do?
You did the drainage, I believe.
Drainage, excuse me. My brain is still a little red. Yeah, we need half of that for the drainage and so on. And the perpetual care fund, I talked with Rod before about taking the, interest off from that fund instead of letting it roll over. And, so, about a month ago, the, beginning, or the ending balance was at 382,830.13. Now, my understanding is this column that says received and the column that says withdrawn are both interest that was taken off the principal. And so I don't believe that is registered correctly in the report. I mean, it looks like that was money that was put into it. I mean, the money was there, we're taking it out of that, the interest out of the account.
Yeah, that shows $9,000, and then we took out $950.
And all of that was money that was taken out of the interest that was taken off from the account.
Some of the money we get from DPW and you guys, they've done burials and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That shouldn't go into perpetual care.
Yes, it does.
that's what it goes.
Yeah, we only take a percentage of that.
It goes there and then when we build it up, then I give them the interest and whatever's in perpetual care. But we don't take it out beforehand.
Okay, and another question I have is, last week there was $5,000 donated to the village for the evergreen repairs. And that's not accounted for in these bank statements. I don't think it should just be left floating in the general fund. It needs to be in the reserve evergreen capital improvement, which is a checking account. I mean, we need to account for it in our.
Well, I will say it was donated last week.
It's been about 2
It
months.
was donated.
It's not just,
Because all this stuff's like a month behind.
Well, but the thing is, if we don't put it in the accounts,
where do you
we
think?
want to keep track of it.
Where do you think it is? It's in the account.
It's in your general fund. It's not in one of these accounts. It was never deposited in one of these accounts,
So what-
not according to the bank statement.
This, what you have in front of you, this isn't broken down into pieces. There's more detail.
Well, it doesn't show where that $5,000 was received from. I mean, and quite frankly, I don't believe that money earned by the cemetery should be going into the perpetual care fund. Because we cannot touch the principal of the perpetual care fund. We can only use the interest. So when you add money into an account, it should not be in the perpetual care fund.
If we didn't put it in perpetual care fund, no perpetual.
Uh,
They would have,
Perpetual care fund can stay at the 382,
right, but they would have spent that years ago if they could get their hands.
but we don't need to add principal to that. We need the money to do the guardrails up there, the roads. I mean, the money, and that 5,000 is designated for the use of the roads.
Right.
Not to perpetual care fund.
Yeah.
So I believe that $5,000 should be shown in the reserve evergreen capital improvements, which is the 5315, because that's what the money is meant for, is capital improvements.
Sure. We'll look into that. If you really want to know this stuff, you should tell me before the meeting. You know, you should.
I asked you the other week.
And I said,
And I asked him probably about a year ago to have that 5313 put together with the other two accounts. It's never done, so I'm asking.
Anybody else have any questions on the treasurer report?
Please put that in the minutes.
send it to- put it in exactly.
Okay, I'll write it down.
Please do.
Okay, thank you.
EMS, they're doing good.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the statement. Yeah.
We have to move fast. Okay.
I won't go set.
Second.
Any other questions about it? We'll check into those other great questions. All right. Brian?
What was the adjustment to the accounts? I said yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Yes for me. Trustee reports? Brian, we get.
I'm all set.
Laura?
There's meetings coming up for all three of my boards here. So the first is October 26th at 7 PM. That's the planning board. October 27th at 6 PM is the zoning board.
Asked, which Rusty, maybe you can help chase down. I asked the chief about maybe using the fire training center, it's clear in here. I didn't get back.
I wrote it down.
Just kind of text. I texted him like the other week, he just didn't text me back. And I forgot to ask him today.
Just have them moving the location of the meetings, both of them.
Yeah, just because I think you might.
Okay, but the time, the one time is different than normal. The planning board is meeting at 7 instead of 7:50. It's not the only thing to watch for the location change possibly.
Okay.
And the time. And then OHPC sent a report to everybody to be entered into minutes. And it's going great. I'm always happy with communication with people and moving all these projects along, CRI projects. They've had many coming up. And in fact, so everything is CRI needed. So lots of good things are happening. And Pat Gavin's here. He's responsible for most of the work behind the scenes of getting everything, as far as I'm understanding, about the paperwork and getting ducks in a row for the STEAM project and fundraising and how exciting that project is for us.
Someday.
Yeah, village project. So really cool for our communities.
Do you know if you have anybody that's willing to do the secretarial stuff for the planning and zoning board yet? I know.
So you guys had, last
Yes.
time you had talked to Meg and was there,
She said no.
she said, no. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, is there any reason why we can't just do like pay one of the persons off of the planning or zoning, pay the chair to do it, or have the chair designate somebody to take the minutes and turn them in?
That's a neat question.
Well, I mean, it's not the greatest idea, but it doesn't, they're responsible for doing it whether or not they get paid. And so they need to be doing the job. They're not, they need to do it whether or not they get paid. And so, you know, they can appoint somebody and we can have them be paid, reimbursed for doing the job. Work, but it's not hiring a person. But I think their chairs are supposed to do that. And if they're not, then, you know, whether or not they're paid for it, they have to do that work. That's one issue. But maybe if they do need encouragement to get paid, yeah, but it's not like we're hiring the person, it's just the
No, it's like a per diem.
thought process that they have to ask somebody.
Or it's $50 a meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
So are we talking about paying the chair to do this?
I don't know.
Well, so technically, anybody can do
I
the
mean, that would
work.
be fine with anybody else but the chair, because it seems like we're paying them to do the job they refuse to do.
We're not paying.
Right, I mean, potentially will be. I just struggle with giving them money to do something they agreed to do in the first place. And all of a sudden they want to do it, there's $50 involved. I mean, I have an issue with that personally.
Why would the chair of the committee be responsible for taking minutes?
They're the chair, they're responsible for the.
Part of their duties technically.
They don't have to take it, they just have to make sure that it's done.
So but one of the things that Laura mentioned, you know, that the boards themselves are responsible to keep minutes. And like literally state law says, the Board of Appeals shall keep minutes of its proceedings, showing the vote of each member upon every question, or if absent or failing to vote, indicating that, and keeping a record of their official actions. That's the board's responsibility. And it's up to the board to determine who amongst themselves is going to be keeping the minutes. And if they're refusing to take minutes, frankly, they should all be removed. And people who were willing to do the job put in place, which is a hard thing, right? Because I know you're obviously struggling for volunteers. And if the solution is to hire somebody to, you know, to pay somebody to do it, then, I mean, that's what needs to happen. I mean, so this needs to be done. Like this, the fact that this is still an ongoing conversation, and that it's been an issue this long, is frankly kind of ridiculous. I mean, I've never had another board, zoning or planning, fail to keep their own minutes. You know, and I mean, somebody's taking notes, right? This should not be a big deal. This is a pretty straightforward process.
Do we need to advertise in the newspaper? Someone pays $50 to take minutes.
Do whatever you can, whatever gets it done. Christie?
Maybe we need to, or someone needs to, speak with the boards and say, you're responsible, legally responsible. And it's important that you provide this information. You have to do it. No, and whatever else, I don't know, just, do you need some help with this? Because it's really your responsibility, so do you?
I know they've come to us a couple of times asking for help.
So at the meetings, different people have offered to take the minutes and the boards refused that offer. So,
I don't understand why they would refuse.
yeah,
Go back and
so
maybe they should.
they need to, you know, they just need to do it whether or not they get paid, but to get somebody paid, they just need to say yes to somebody who offers when they come, or do the job themselves and submit to that, you know, a voucher to get paid for it.
Take it out of their hands and just appoint somebody to be the secretary, whoever we choose, and pay them $50. I prefer they not be on the board to receive the money.
We can.
You know, I don't know if we know anybody, but this needs to be resolved.
I don't think
Just
it'd
get
be,
your hands slapped.
I don't think it'd be one of us unless we don't.
If you don't need to hire a person, it's just clerical. voucher to get somebody.
Somebody that's willing to go to the meetings.
Viewers.
The county has already given them a template, very simple, who, what, when, where, what's the goal. That's all they really gotta do.
Right.
It'd be one page. That's all they gotta do, you know.
Yeah, Elaine will help them as much as you will ask her questions.
But you have to have a decision on the votes to see
Yeah,
that.
a record,
Yeah.
and the record has to be filed within so many days of the meeting. Right.
If they're there at the meeting, you think somebody can.
The last reported minutes are 2 years out, that they've submitted minutes.
Okay. Rusty,
So, sorry, Mike.
wants to go to all the meetings.
Sorry, Mike. Should the job of you someone, the mayor needs to speak to the committees and tell them that this is how this works, and the law says that you're responsible for this. The law says we're not responsible for it, the law says you are responsible for it. You have to do this, whether or not someone takes those minutes for you, you're the one that you're the group that has to make sure that they're correct. You have to look at them, you have to review them, you have to make sure they're correct, you have to submit them because you're responsible.
So I know we went through this because we did have me, chairs of those boards, and Wayne from the county meeting. She went through exactly what we're supposed to do. This was like within the last month, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's critical. We have those reports, especially the other thing that's coming up in the next 2 years.
Right.
So, yeah, so that whole process has been done. The meeting and the discussion.
Building permits. Yeah, so we had that meeting with the county, so they understand they're supposed to take minutes. Get them to do it. Or have somebody do it, it's gonna go to every meeting.
And can you resolve that now?
Right. Somebody that's gonna be in every meeting and wants to do it.
Hey, Nate,
Yes.
at a normal planning or zoning meeting, all they need to do is record the votes. But at a public hearing, would they need to have all the public comments?
So the meetings of minutes need to reflect the actions taken of the board. I've seen public hearings, word for word documented, and I've seen public hearings that say, public hearing was opened. Several members of the public spoke in favor and in opposition to the project. Public hearing was closed. I mean, they're as detailed as the person taking the minutes and the board wants them to be. Usually someone taking the minutes for a public hearing or even for the board discussion will in the minutes reflect some of the most relevant comments made, but they do not have to be a verbatim reflection of what was stated at a meeting. Like that is very clear under state law. The minimum is required is who was there, what the motion was to vote on, and who voted for or against the action. So, I mean, to Rod's point, 1 page is all you need for this stuff. I mean, this is not overly complicated.
Okay.
And somebody can give me $50 to do it.
So I already go to most of these meetings. Can I just do it? I don't care. So 8 or 35 cents an hour.
So I think there was a problem because we looked at this for Laura, right? If Laura could do it, I think there was a problem with any of the trustees themselves doing it.
For pay.
Yeah, I
For
can't get,
pay or just doing it in general?
Oh, no, I just can't get paid for it. Of course I could do free work. I just can't get paid for it. I'm not gonna do it. for free.
I think that's correct. And honestly, like literally, at this point, I don't care who does it, as long as the board itself, after the meeting is over, takes that piece of paper from whoever was keeping notes, looks at it and says, yeah, we agree, these are the minutes. File it in the clerk's office. I mean, somebody at this point just needs to be doing it, because the fact that it's not getting done, like that's the worst thing. If we want to get nitpicky about who's writing things down, like I'm not going to get lost on that right now. The biggest thing right now for me is just somebody do it.
Okay, so I'll do it for the next couple of meetings. You know, show somebody how easy it is to do, and they get $50 a meeting. if you want to do it.
Something in this book, I read,
Right.
it says, prove such and such.
Yeah. That's, yeah, they can't tell me no. And I'm gonna be there anyway, it's all a DRI grant.
I don't know if you can get paid just like I can.
He's not getting paid.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm
How are
gonna
you
get
just gonna
paid.
do it?
I'm gonna get paid like a big check.
Don't make me start mad.
We just need to get it done. So we're not breaking state law.
I thought there's something else.
Resting.
And you know, from entertainment, comedians and singers, never try to follow up.
I wouldn't either.
I'll remember something later, but nothing now.
How many people give me slammed for more?
Well, I have a question for you, Steve.
Sure.
The Police Benevolent Association is having a bonfire this coming Friday.
Yes.
Do they need help from board members or other departments?
They're doing it in conjunction with EMS and fire. So those people will be helping in whatever manner. They have not asked for any volunteers, and they certainly not asked for the board to help them with monies or doing something. But if one's interested, one can contact the chief and say, do you need any help? Is there something I can do? They haven't asked.
He asked me about cooking.
Like
They're giving out free food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's me and the fire department. It's Friday. then.
this one's right.
Yeah, I saw on Facebook, they're asking for donations. They want dollar donations or food donations, what?
Both. I know they were hitting up some of the grocery stores to try and get food.
Don't let me hear it.
It's a PBA.
It's a PBA.
Oh.
Yeah.
PBA is what it-
Donations for stuff that they're gonna give out,
Right.
not for donations for
And obviously,
No,
donate money to go buy stuff.
no, yeah, I mean, they've got to pay for the band, they've got to.
Yeah, so they got Reckless Marcy coming. They'll bring a bunch of people. Pretty nice. It'll be fun.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
Rob? Ed, got anything? Communications, the big thing I had was the party Friday night. And firehouse subs. Since just had one before the meeting here, it's good.
You messing with my business pad.
Permission from the community shop to. They're quick.
Board taker, because he.
John?
We try and only do it once a year, but we had an opportunity to do it twice.
Yeah. So do they have a flat fee for the subs or is it different?
$10. We get 10%.
Good stuff too. Same one.
And June, so for example, in June, we got.
Great. The chicken was good too.
We had groundbreaking today. Senior house, so to speak. Mayor's report. Don't have much for that with the planning and zoning boards about. So. Have the next two meetings because that housing project's on the list. So we'll have to get full of people again. So hopefully the training center is an easy, bigger place. Bonfire Friday night.
Halloween party.
Halloween party is the next Friday night. Trick or treating is on Halloween, as usual. 10,000 people have asked. The pool's not open. Let's see, public comment.
I just got a couple things on the fountain. So the fountain shut down for the winter. We plan to have it open this week, but we're gonna have John Boland do some touch-up painting. We got some issues on the bait. So I'll get a hold of you, I think, and you're ready to get a hold of Waterworks to shut the meter down. So pretty much the fountain shut down, everything's kosher there. Do you all know if you have a camera on that? So hopefully this week, that camera will be streaming on our website. So you can go to our website and look at the fountain with a great big donate button.
Of course.
So, FYI on that. And then we really didn't have any issues this year, other than candle residue issue that was rectified. That group had a candlelight visual and messed up the bricks, but we got them repaired and actually paid for it. So the fountain's in good shape, and we're upkeeping that. And then just on the steamer project, appreciate the board's support, appreciate what Jeff's done for us. We're at a point where we're gonna get some stuff done now, and then we gotta raise some money to get some more stuff done. So, I mean, how long it's gonna take us, I don't know, it took us 3 years to do the fountain, so. Well, we're getting there, but we couldn't do it without the support you've already given us to continue to give us. So moral of the story is thank you.
Brian?
I was given notice by some of the residents that there may be somebody sleeping in the gazebo.
I've heard that too.
A very large man who may have been arrested at one point.
He was down there Monday, not in the gazebo on the thing. Our truck's going.
I just heard from a couple of people, they've seen him in the gazebo a few nights. I believe he's homeless at this point. I don't know.
Police are aware
I figured
of him, and his doing got taken away by him.
They're the ones who told me about it.
I think he's done the
Our
situation.
because that's the attraction.
Yes.
There's
Ours
no
are often a lot.
it's starting to get a little cold.
Yeah, no, I know they're aware of it.
I don't know if he's fit, Jeff.
Oh, dear. We like it.
I know. So scares me.
Jeff, we like having meetings.
Anything else from anybody? Quick one.
Hey, Nate? Nate, can you hear me? Before you go, I need to speak to you, not on this telecast. I need to speak to you tonight. I need to speak to you now. Not now, as soon as this meeting's over.
What's your cell phone? You don't have a cell phone, do you?
I do, but I hate to let everybody in the world know. All right, you
All
don't
right.
know?
Yeah, if you, I guess,
Yeah.
Mayor, text me.
768. No, I'm not gonna tell anybody. That's a bad thing.
Can I give you your cell phone number?
Yeah, that's fine.
One of us will give it to you.
Okay, I'll just wait for your call, Rusty.
I'll try to call you in the next few minutes. I got it in my store if I have to. I'll get you. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good night, everybody.
Almost gave my number out.
I